King Robert glanced at the half-open window, his expression sharp.
Has someone been here?
I looked at the gentle and beautiful woman beside me. This was the first time I had seen Queen Isabella, a princess from the Tang Dynasty, who looked nothing like the Huns.
Emperor William, you are overthinking. Who else would come here besides you?
Queen Isabella's expression was calm, but her gaze remained fixed on me. She was worried I might have seen something earlier. I recalled that just half an hour ago, I was still in the combat arena. At the age of 13, I had fiercely knocked down my brother, who was 3 years older than me. I coldly lifted my gaze and wiped the blood off my face. The surrounding tribesmen fell silent, then began to praise me, half in jest and half in earnest. No wonder she is the emperor's daughter, so brave at such a young age.
Indeed, even though her mother is a two-legged sheep from the Tang Dynasty, she has half of our Hun blood and is still so formidable.
I didn't care about anything. I only loved the fiercest horses and wine and the vast grasslands. But I couldn't deny that deep down, I was very curious about what my mother was like. It was said she was different from the women of the Hun tribe. Today, my brother mocked me again, calling me a motherless child and a two-legged sheep. This led to a confrontation in front of King Robert. Thus, this contest was arranged. The wager was that if I won, I could see my mother.
Good child. You are truly my princess.
I immediately extended my hand.
I want to see my mother, King Robert, you promised me.
King Robert's eyes were deep, and after a moment, he smiled and handed me a token. I thanked King Robert joyfully and hurried to the palace where my mother was held. Seeing the token, the guards did not stop me. But just as I was about to enter the room, I suddenly felt a bit timid. What was happening to me? As a daughter of the grasslands, why was I so hesitant? Yet, I couldn't help but slow my steps. There was someone else in the room. With my sharp eyes, I saw a very beautiful and gentle woman handing a sheepskin scroll to a man dressed as a servant. I immediately recognized that he was not purely a Hun. He was a mixed blood like me, half Hun and half Tang. Could he be a spy from the Tang Dynasty? At that moment, I heard the guards outside announcing the arrival of Emperor William. It was King Robert. I saw the woman's face remain calm as she directed the man to hide. The next moment, I flung the door open, and the woman's face finally showed panic. But when she saw my face, she froze. I scrutinized the woman in front of me, who was also my mother.
Are you my mother?
Just then, King Robert entered as well. He placed a hand on my shoulder, looking at my mother with a very complex expression. It was a kind of emotion I had never seen in Emperor William's eyes before.
Grace, this is our daughter. She is already 10 years old.
The woman's expression wavered, and her gaze towards me was strange, but I inexplicably felt a desire to hug her. But soon, King Robert sensed something was wrong, leading to the current situation. King Robert had reached the bed where the man was hiding. He stared at the ground. I didn't want my mother to be in danger the first time I met her.
King Robert, I felt too hot when I came in, so I opened the window.
I was always the smartest, excelling in fighting and taming horses, the best in the entire tribe. King Robert loved me the most. Now that I said this, King Robert no longer doubted. I saw Queen Isabella take a deep breath, her eyes showing a faint gratitude towards me. I didn't need her gratitude. It was simply because she was my mother. The grand hall was filled with anticipation as King Robert introduced his daughter to Queen Isabella.
Grace, this is our daughter. She has my bravery and your intelligence. No princess can compare to her at such a young age. If she were a son, he would undoubtedly be the next emperor.
King Robert looked at Queen Isabella with a gentle smile, but she remained indifferent, silent, and expressionless. Anger flickered in King Robert's eyes as he took his daughter's hand and led her away.
You see your mother? She never considered me her husband or you her daughter.
Will you still visit her in the future? Of course.
From that moment, Grace knew there was something new among the things she liked. She loved her mother more than the freedom of the plains. By secretly aiding the Tang Dynasty spy to leave with the intelligence, Grace knew she had betrayed her father and her people.
Father seems to think highly of me, but he wants me to marry the queen's son.
Indeed. Marrying me to a prince would be equivalent to gaining an elite cavalry.
Queen Isabella finally smiled at her warmly, affectionately stroking her hair.
Indeed, you are my daughter, with the dignity of the Han people in your bones. Yes, I will take you back to the Tang Dynasty.
As Grace's relationship with her mother grew closer, the information passed on by the Tang Dynasty spy increased. The turmoil came swiftly. As the Tang army invaded, Grace's secret assistance to the Tang spy was exposed. She became a complete traitor. With her skills and the people who stayed by her side, Grace fought her way out of the palace. King Robert was leading troops on the front lines. No one could match her. However, she was ultimately fleeing from the Xiongnu stronghold. Many of her people died, and she was left battered and bruised. Grace stumbled into a dilapidated palace, feeling weak. A tall young man suddenly appeared and grabbed her hand, leading her through a small door.
Grace, it's me, John. We need to leave, now.
My mother is still in the palace.
The Emperor loves Aunt deeply, he won't harm her. But you, having betrayed the Xiongnu, are doomed. Come with me first, and we'll rescue Aunt later.
Hearing this, Grace hesitated no longer and mounted the horse. They rode hard, covered in dust, not knowing when they finally shook off their pursuers.
Where to now?
Come with me to the Tang Dynasty.
John's eyes shone with a fervor Grace had never seen before.
Father will surely rescue Aunt. Come with me, haven't you always been curious about the Tang Dynasty?
She trusted him the most and hesitated no longer. Meeting her mother was also John's suggestion, and it proved that she indeed loved her mother very much. To Grace's utter surprise, as soon as they entered the Tang border, she was captured.
I will rescue you.
John's anxious eyes were the last thing Grace saw. Now that the Tang Dynasty and the Xiongnu were at war, her appearance clearly marked her as Xiongnu, so being captured was expected. As for John, being a prince of the Tang Dynasty, he would surely rescue her. Soon, I was brought to a grand hall adorned with gold and jade. A man dressed in imperial robes sat on the dragon throne above. I knew this was the emperor of the Tang Dynasty.
Johnny, are you sure she can be trusted?
The emperor's voice was authoritative, and I couldn't help but sneak a glance upward. John stood to the side.
Yes, Your Majesty. She is the daughter of my third aunt, and it was her assistance that allowed our Tang spies to successfully deliver the message.
A wave of relief washed over me. As expected, I knew John wouldn't betray me.
Your Majesty, I disagree. She is the daughter of the Xiongnu Emperor. Who knows if this is their way of planting a spy in our Tang Dynasty?
It was an unfamiliar man, appearing to be around the same age as Queen Isabella. I didn't recognize him. I lowered my eyes indifferently. However, this man seemed to harbor significant hostility towards me. Given the current sensitive times, his constant pressure made the emperor visibly hesitant. I felt a bit anxious. If I were detained here, who would rescue my mother?
Father, as the fifth prince, I vouch for Nia. She is definitely not a spy planted by the Xiongnu.
John urgently knelt beside me. Warmth surged through my heart. Suddenly, I understood why King Robert loved Queen Isabella so much. Despite appearing frail, he could stand by my side against the emperor's intimidating presence in such moments. It felt quite reassuring. Stepping back into the sunlight, I had become the cousin of the fifth Prince John. Given my sensitive status, it wasn't appropriate to grant me the title of a princess. I didn't mind. I sat in John's study, casually reading the messages that had arrived.
News from the front lines says that King Robert has already taken Queen Isabella and abandoned the city defenses, dispersing into the grasslands.
The Xiongnu cavalry has caused significant losses to the Tang Dynasty. How can we rescue my mother?
I wanted to take command of a Tang army unit. Rescuing my mother would be more than manageable. Unfortunately, the emperor wouldn't allow it.
I have a unit I can give you,
John said after a long pause, seemingly making a significant decision. In truth, I was stunned by his boldness. If I had ulterior motives, not only would this unit be wasted, but even his own safety would be at risk.
You really trust me?
I said, looking at him seriously. Suddenly, I realized how handsome he was. Perhaps feeling my gaze linger too long, John turned his head slightly, a faint blush coloring his cheeks.
Nia, we've been together for years. You know my feelings.
I was momentarily taken aback.
Of course, I trust you. But having been away from the court for years, my influence is weak. This is all the military strength I can offer you.
Watching him hand over the prince's military token without a hint of hesitation, I smiled.
Don't worry, you know my capabilities. Just wait for my triumphant return.
I, Nia, had earned the title of the Xiongnu's first warrior as a woman and had secretly trained a cavalry unit. Now that John was on my side, I would use this cavalry to build an invincible army for him. He trusted me, and I would repay him 100-fold. Indeed, that was the case. The army I led emerged as an unstoppable force on the front lines, not only defeating the Xiongnu, but also routing other tribes on the grasslands. The name of 5th Prince John began to resonate among the people. Returning to the capital in triumph, I would soon see John. The thought of his praise made my heart leap with joy, as if I had drunk the strongest wine and tamed the finest wild horse. No, it was even more exhilarating. But why was there another woman by his side? I have always been straightforward, so I want to find her immediately. The woman was very beautiful, a typical Han lady of noble birth. She looked somewhat familiar.
Who are you, and why are you in John's residence?
I had already decided that John was my man, and no other woman could be around him.
You must be Nia. I know you.
The more I looked at her, the more familiar she seemed. This familiarity even made my hostility towards her fade a bit.
My name is Sophia, the legitimate daughter of Princess Victoria's household and the daughter of Prince Consort Henry. I am not like you.
The contempt in her eyes mirrored how my people used to look at me, but I suddenly understood her identity.
Are you my sister?
At that moment, my hostility towards her vanished. I thought of my beloved Queen Isabella. So she was Queen Isabella's child, my sister. She even looked a lot like Queen Isabella.
Miss Nia, out of respect for your achievements in leading the Tang army to victory, I call you Miss, but you are not fit to be my sister. A mixed blood from the Huns, do you think you deserve to be my sister?
She was nothing like Queen Isabella.
Oh, if you are not my sister, then leave this place.
I swaggered to the chair at the head of the room, a seat only the master of the house could sit in. John always let me sit there.
John is my man. I won't allow any other woman around him. If you are not my sister, then leave.
Brother John may be the 5th prince, now returning strong, most likely to take the throne. And you, a mixed blood from the Huns, think you can be his woman? You wouldn't even qualify as a concubine. Do you dream of being his main wife?
My expression turned cold. Ever since I was 10 and beat up the general who dared call me a mixed blood so badly he couldn't get out of bed for half a year, no one had dared to call me that again. My gaze turned fierce, but I suddenly remembered that Sophia was a Han lady, and we were not in the Huns' territory. I immediately picked her up and placed her outside the residence.
If not for Queen Isabella's sake, I would have thrown you out. Watch your words in the future.
Then I closed the door and went to find John. Seeing my furious look, he sighed.
So you know everything now.
He told me that before Queen Isabella was married off for political reasons, she had been betrothed to Prince Consort Henry and had my sister.
But because Queen Isabella had saved King Robert when she was young, King Robert insisted on having her for the political marriage.
When I was captured, it was Prince Consort Henry who kept bad-mouthing me. To him, I was the child of the rival who took his wife, so it was no wonder he treated me that way. Forget it. I suddenly felt relieved. I didn't need a sister that badly.
As long as Queen Isabella and John like me, that is enough.
Don't worry about what she said. The one I love is you.
He gently stroked my hair, and I was exceptionally obedient in front of him.
It's time, Nia. We can set off to rescue Antonica now.
My entire focus immediately shifted to rescuing Queen Isabella.
Nia, do you think there's any difference between the Han and the Huns? The Huns allow women to have power, the Han may not.
Perhaps you are right, but I met John. He is the one who can help me achieve my dreams.
My eyes sparkled, and I couldn't help but smile sweetly.
King Robert, you have always loved me, but you never agreed to give me this position, even though I am far more capable than my elder brother.
My father opened his mouth, but said nothing.
Hope, but the Han have always been deceitful. With your temperament, you still have a long way to go.
At this moment, King Robert was merely trying to maintain his last shred of dignity. I sheathed my sword and ordered my attendants to bind King Robert.
King Robert, for the sake of our father-daughter bond, I will give you the highest funeral rites of the Huns.
I had him tied up and placed on a small cart, pulled away by the fastest horse.
Nia, if you leave the Emperor's head, your uncle will be more pleased.
I turned slightly to look at Queen Isabella.
It doesn't matter. I don't care about my uncle, I only care about you.
Queen Isabella looked at the scars on my cheeks, her eyes reddening. Her trembling hand gently brushed over them. It didn't hurt at all, but at that moment I felt what it meant to have a mother. I gathered the remaining Huns and returned triumphantly with Queen Isabella. Prince Consort Henry was waiting at the city gate, and for once he didn't give me a disdainful look. I stood quietly aside, watching Queen Isabella reunite with Prince Consort Henry. Sophia ran over brightly and hugged Queen Isabella. I felt a bit annoyed, but there was nothing I could do. Queen Isabella wasn't just mine, but it didn't matter. John was mine. Perhaps because I had rescued Queen Isabella, or maybe because she had witnessed my decisive skills, Sophia never showed that contemptuous look in front of me again. Queen Isabella returned to the princess's residence to enjoy family bliss. I thought, it's okay. Half of Queen Isabella is still mine, and I have John all to myself, which is great. Unexpectedly, several days passed without seeing Queen Isabella.
Princess Victoria has been away from home for many years. It's understandable that she would spend more time with her family.
John carefully comforted me while gently braiding my hair. I had never been good at Han women's hairstyles, but I didn't need to worry with John helping me. His gentle comfort put me at ease. Until that day, an imperial decree arrived. It was the emperor's edict bestowing marriage upon John and Sophia. Furious, I went to the princess's residence and saw Queen Isabella standing with Sophia.
It was Mother who requested the decree for me. Mother knows I've liked John for a long time. Mother also thinks John and I are a good match, right?
I stood there, my heart a whirlwind of emotions. Nia pressed her lips together, staring at Queen Isabella. The queen's expression was somewhat unnatural, avoiding her gaze.
Mother, you know very well that John is my man.
Such a bold statement startled the maids around them, who kept stealing glances at Nia. Queen Isabella's face changed slightly, and she quickly waved the maids away.
Nia, you are no longer in the Xiongnu tribe. As a young lady, you should behave like one.
Behave like a young lady? But it was precisely because Nia never behaved like a typical young lady that she learned so many skills, raised a private army, and ultimately rescued her mother. Sophia, also Queen Isabella's child, wanted to rescue her too, but she simply didn't have the capability. She couldn't even persuade the emperor to send troops. The risk was too great.
Only I personally led the troops into battle, helped win numerous fights, and gradually expanded our influence. Coupled with John's other forces, the emperor finally agreed to launch a full-scale attack on the Xiongnu.
It's strange. When Nia first met her mother a few months ago, she knew she liked her very much. But as time passed, she found herself liking her less and less. Queen Isabella sighed and sent Sophia away.
Nia, ever since I gave birth to your sister, I was forced to leave. All these years, your sister has never seen me. I owe her that. Considering other factors, the possibility of you being with the fifth prince is very slim. Why not let your sister have him? When your sister gets married, I'll still be here with you, won't I?
Nia pressed her lips together, saying nothing. Her mother had been with her in the Xiongnu tribe, but she had never seen her until a few months ago. By that logic, didn't she owe Nia too?
As for the slim possibility of being with John, that might be true. But I, Nia, have never been afraid of challenges.
However, her mother was so frail, having endured years of hardship in the frontier. Nia couldn't bear to say anything, and all her anger was stuck in her chest, like punching a pillow with no outlet. Feeling stifled, Nia returned to John's residence. Unexpectedly, Sophia came to find her soon after. John had defied the imperial decree. Nia was shocked, looking at Sophia, who was crying like a pear blossom bathed in rain.
Stop crying and speak clearly.
Only then did Nia understand the situation through Sophia's sobs. It turned out that John, upon learning of the emperor's marriage decree, went directly to the emperor. He declared that he would not marry Sophia because the one he loved was Nia.
Are you satisfied now? Brother John defied the decree to be with you. I don't understand what is so special about a half-blood like you.
Sophia retracted the derogatory term under Nia's sudden sharp gaze, but still glared at her resentfully. Nia remained expressionless, but inside, her heart was bursting with joy. She knew it. After years of fighting side by side, John and she shared the same thoughts. However, defying the decree had consequences. The enraged emperor had John imprisoned, forbidding anyone from visiting him. A few days later, even Queen Isabella came to see Nia.
The fifth prince's mother was a dear friend of mine. Now, he is imprisoned because of you, Nia. You must think of a way.
Of course, I will think of a way. John is my man. But to get the emperor to release John, he would have to comply with the marriage decree, and I am unwilling to let that happen. What else could I do?
The fifth prince is, after all, your emperor uncle's son. He wants to find a powerful wife for him because he feels guilty for neglecting him all these years. You just need to prove that you can also provide strong support for the fifth prince.
Strong support? When it comes to that, I understand perfectly. I hold military power. What could be more convincing than that?
The main components of the military power Nia held consisted of two parts: the Xiongnu tribe, an especially trained group of cavalrymen from the soldiers under the fifth prince. Though not numerous, they were exceptionally elite. Her uncle, the emperor, must be concerned about her Xiongnu heritage. If this military power were handed over to John, it would be placed in the hands of the royal family.
Nia, what are you hesitating about? Once the fifth prince is released, you will become the fifth princess consort. You won't need to go to the battlefield anymore, and handing over the military power won't affect you.
A few days later, Queen Isabella came to see Nia. She nodded but remained unmoved. A few days after that, Sophia also visited.
This is what you want, isn't it, Nia? You just want me to bow down. You want me to admit defeat, don't you? Fine, I admit it. As long as you can save Brother John, I won't compete with you anymore.
Nia couldn't help but laugh. Was she ever afraid of Sophia competing with her? John's defiance of the imperial decree clearly showed his heart was with her. She never worried about Sophia. However, after Queen Isabella and Sophia left, Nia couldn't help but ponder.
John defied the decree for me. He was sent to the Xiongnu as a hostage, which showed that my uncle, the emperor, did not favor him as the successor. Now that I have managed to gain some advantage for him, he is willing to risk offending my uncle and losing his position to be with me. What do I have to fear?
That night, Nia entered the palace. 2 days later, John returned home. Apart from looking a bit tired, he was fine. She greeted him with a smile, successfully seeing the amazement in his eyes, as she had deliberately dressed in Han attire.
Nia, thank you for your hard work.
He walked towards her excitedly, his eyes full of love for her. Nia thought, this is good. She may have lost the grasslands, but she had a man who loved her and her mother. Living a peaceful life in the Tang Dynasty was not bad. John immediately began preparing for their wedding. For the umpteenth time, Nia threw away the handkerchief she was embroidering.
This is so troublesome. How can Han women manage to do such difficult tasks?
She was very frustrated and suddenly felt that her sister had her merits. She had seen her give John handkerchiefs she had embroidered herself more than once. Of course, that was in the past. John came in and saw Nia's state, laughing immediately.
You don't have to imitate Han women to please me, Nia. I love you for who you are, no matter what.
He tucked the oddly embroidered handkerchief Nia had painstakingly made into his chest.
This is enough. Leave the rest to the wedding planner.
Nia felt liberated and no longer forced herself to do these tasks. A whiff of alcohol reached her, and her eyes lit up. Since coming to the Tang Dynasty, she hadn't had a drink in a long time. It was John.
Knowing you've been holding back for a while, I specially sent everyone away today and got this wine for you.
He opened the wine jar and poured Nia a bowl.
Don't worry, I won't tell Aunt.
John understood her. Nia immediately took a big gulp. Before she finished the jar, she felt dizzy.
How strange, what kind of wine is this?
When Nia woke up again, she found herself confined in a dark, damp dungeon.
Even a fool could see that I had been set up.
Sitting there, she carefully reflected on everything that had happened recently.
The military seal. Yes, it was all about taking my military seal. To lead so many troops as a woman with Xiongnu blood, it wasn't just the military seal that I relied on. The high-ranking officials I promoted recognized my abilities. The Emperor and John couldn't just forcibly take the seal from me. They had to use a scheme.
Nia pondered what the outside world would be saying about her now.
Most likely, they would say that John defied orders for my sake, only to discover that I was secretly colluding with others, forcing him to strip me of my military seal. I recalled the rumors that had been circulating not long ago, about the 5th Prince's cavalry commander, Nia, fighting for her beloved. It had caused quite a stir at the time. All of it was to lay the groundwork for today. Back then, I could go to war for a man, and now, falling in love with another man and betraying the 5th Prince seemed to make perfect sense.
Soon, Sophia arrived.
Nia, you really are foolish. Did you really think Johnny liked someone like you, a wild child?
Where's John?
Still thinking about Johnny at a time like this? Give it up. Johnny is busy preparing for a wedding. He doesn't have time for you.
A wedding? Nia thought about the wedding John and she had been preparing for.
No wonder he survived as a hostage among the Xiongnu for years.
She chuckled softly, recalling the first time she met him.
He was dressed in rags, yet with a short piece of hemp rope, he strangled a servant who had humiliated him. Then he threw the body out of the camp without a change in expression. That night, the wolves howled incessantly. Wasn't it his ruthlessness that attracted me? Perhaps he had been setting this up from the moment he first saw me.
Nia laughed, seemingly startling Sophia.
Where is Queen Isabella?
Do you even deserve to call her Queen Isabella? Don't forget, you have Xiongnu blood in you. How could Queen Isabella ever truly see you as her daughter? You're just a useful pawn. It's really pitiful when you think about it. Your mother and the man you love both betrayed you. TSK, in the end, you're all alone. Truly pitiful.
Just as she had imagined, Nia remained calm.
It was John who had been telling me everything about the Tang Dynasty, and also about Queen Isabella's stories. That's what made me hold on to a fantasy about her. It was all a scheme, years in the making. Queen Isabella's gentle hands were just a cover for her cold manipulation. But I still wanted to know. I risked my life on the battlefield to save her, narrowly escaping death. Did she really feel nothing? At the very least, I still have half of her blood flowing in my veins.
John finally came to see me, visibly agitated.
You gave me a fake military token? No, that's not right. I tested it when I first got it. It could mobilize the troops.
He paced back and forth. I had known he would come looking for me ever since the interrogations began a month ago. But no one had ever gotten any answers from me. So he came himself.
Why won't the troops follow orders now?
Without my elite squad, how could he compete with the Crown Prince? I smiled, looking at him with one eye. The other I was already useless.
After all these years, you should know my nature.
John glared at me, his eyes filled with resentment and disgust. My heart ached slightly.
You'd better kill me quickly, or I won't spare anyone who betrays me.
John took a step back, perhaps because of my gaze. He couldn't get any answers, and soon my mother arrived. She stood outside the cell, her expression complex, looking at me. It wasn't the indifference I had imagined. Otherwise, her eyes wouldn't show guilt.
Nia, it's my fault. I am a princess of the Tang Dynasty. From birth, I had to bear responsibilities. From the moment you were born, I couldn't be your mother. In this life, I owe you, but I had no choice. You know that. You've always been a smart child.
Yes, a smart child.
Grace, this is our daughter. She has my bravery and your wisdom. No princess can compare to her at such a young age.
My mother was also very clever, meticulously planning a scheme that lasted for years, even until now.
Nia, you are proud. You shouldn't be in this narrow, cramped dungeon. Tell me the secret of the military token, and I will have your body sent to the grasslands.
My heart stirred slightly. My mother was smart. She didn't say anything about secretly letting me go. She knew my nature. If I lived, those who betrayed me would meet a grim fate. She also knew that I knew she understood my nature.
Then you better make sure you really kill me.
I smiled and finally revealed the secret of the military token. She hurriedly left. The next day, a fire broke out in the dungeon. This way, my body could be sent intact to the grasslands. It seemed my mother kept her word. I rode a handsome steed, looking at the charred body on the small cart in the distance.
Nia, it's time to go.
Yes, father.
My greatest loves have always been the grasslands, strong liquor, and fine horses. My mother was once briefly among them. But when she wasn't, my greatest loves remained the grasslands, strong liquor, and fine horses. Father took me back to a hidden camp, with robust and healthy horses and soldiers even more formidable than those I had trained for John. A year later, as the king of the grasslands, I rode with my father.
If not for the delay of that year, you would have become the king of the grasslands long ago.
If not for my strong body, I might not have lived to see this day. But here we are, aren't we?
I looked up towards the direction of the Tang Dynasty.
Dear mother, sister, and John, are you ready? I told you, I won't spare anyone who betrays me.
John woke up from a nightmare, losing count of how many times it had happened this year. He saw Nia engulfed in flames, smiling and asking him why. Clutching his chest, waves of pain spread through him. After Nia truly passed away, he often felt empty and gradually realized that he had loved her. But now it was too late. He forced himself not to think about her anymore.
Johnny, what's wrong?
Sophia, lying beside him, sat up and asked softly.
It's nothing, Sophia. Just a dream.
John responded briefly and decided not to sleep anymore, heading to the study instead.
John, I will definitely create the strongest cavalry for you in the future.
The vibrant young girl, full of spirit, sat on the desk in a carefree manner. She was so dazzling. He suddenly woke up. The young prince, held hostage in the palace, was surrounded by shadows and schemes until he met that girl. Unfortunately, just as he felt his heart stir, he discovered that she was merely a pawn. He forced down his feelings and began to strategize. But it was all in the past now. In the princess's residence, Princess Victoria listened to the maid report that Prince Consort Henry had spent the night with a concubine, her expression indifferent.
I see. Thank you for letting me know.
Since returning from the Xiongnu tribe, Prince Consort Henry had never touched her again. He didn't say it, but she knew he found her unclean. Even her daughter, after getting married, was eager to leave and reluctant to communicate with her.
Nia wouldn't have done that. She would always listen quietly. If only she hadn't left the Xiongnu tribe.
With Nia's abilities, she would never have allowed others to bully her. Princess Victoria smiled bitterly. What was the use of thinking about it now? Annika, the queen of the grasslands, established diplomatic relations with the Tang Dynasty. The first time she revealed her face, she stunned countless Han people. Even the most conservative ministers couldn't help but be amazed by her beauty.
Your Majesty, this queen of the grasslands clearly has an affinity for our dynasty due to her Han parentage. If we could arrange a marriage in a few generations, the grasslands would be fully integrated into our territory.
Originally, they could have conquered the grasslands by force. But due to certain events, no one could tame the two cavalry units, and they were eventually disbanded. Soon after, a powerful force began a fierce assault, conquering the entire grasslands within a year and establishing a strong nation. It had the grandeur of the former Xiongnu emperor, but even more so, not just the emperor, but even the ministers couldn't help but covet it. Moreover, the queen of the grasslands was a peerless beauty. Marrying her would bring both beauty and power.
Why not make this a test? Whoever wins the heart of the queen of the grasslands will be the next emperor.
This declaration caused an uproar among the Tang Dynasty's high officials. Even the crown prince had never received a promise of succession. He always knew his position could be taken away at any moment, especially with the sudden rise of his fifth brother in the past 2 years. Soon, worse news reached the crown prince. His fifth brother had fallen in love with Queen Annika at first sight, and Annika seemed to favor him as well.
But doesn't he already have a princess consort?
The ministers responded.
It doesn't matter if he has a princess consort as long as when he
John never expected that upon seeing Annika for the first time, his long dormant heart would suddenly stir. It felt just like the first time he saw Nia. No, Nia was already gone. Annika's eyes were so dazzling that he often mistook her for Nia.
I'm different now. Back then, I was powerless, and Nia was just a pawn. Annika is different.
He thought to himself as he observed Annika from a distance.
I am a strong contender for the next heir, and Annika is the esteemed ruler of the plains. Together, we are a formidable alliance. Whatever wrongs I did to Nia, I will make up for them with Annika.
The most remarkable thing was that this extraordinary beauty seemed to have a fondness for him as well. Heaven was on his side.
Even when Annika mentioned that he could only marry her, I didn't see any problem with it. So what if I have to part ways with Sophia?
He thought about the practical implications.
After that incident, King Robert was already displeased with my third aunt. Sophia can no longer offer much help. If I can marry this queen of the plains, it will all be worth it.
Balancing his intense emotions with practical considerations, he quickly made his decision. When Sophia received the divorce papers, she was in disbelief. She had long known that John didn't love her much, but it didn't matter. Her biggest rival, Nia, was already gone. It was only a matter of time before John fell in love with her. But she never expected Annika to appear out of nowhere.
Why? There are so many princes without wives. Why did you choose John?
She rushed to Annika, her expression somewhat frantic.
I told you, my husband will only have me. If he doesn't divorce you, wouldn't that be fine? After all, I am the queen of the plains. What kind of man can't I have?
Sophia didn't know why, but facing this powerful queen, she always felt a sense of guilt and fear.
However, given your lack of manners, I'm actually a bit interested in your so-called John.
A strange look flashed in Annika's eyes.
It's said that your mother was once the famous woman of the Huns Emperor William. Unfortunately, she betrayed him. Now, the Huns are under my rule, and I should collect some interest.
Sophia began to tremble. What did she mean?
How about this? You hand her over to me, and I won't compete with you for John.
Sophia returned to the princess's mansion in a daze. Her mother was delighted to see her daughter back after so long and prepared a feast.
Welcome back, my dear. I've missed you so much.
Sophia couldn't eat a bite.
It doesn't matter. After all, Mother was defiled by the Huns and is unworthy of being a Tang princess.
She thought to herself,
if I hand her over, I can gain the favor of the Queen of the Plains and help my uncle, the Emperor, get rid of a nuisance. Mother would understand, right? Back then, Nia was so good to her, yet she didn't hesitate to use her because of her position.
Her thoughts became darker.
I'm doing this for the Tang Dynasty. Yes, that's it.
Sophia's eyes turned eerie. Princess Victoria awoke to find herself in Annika's mansion. The dark and damp dungeon filled her with dread.
How does it feel? Familiar, isn't it?
She immediately recognized the figure as the recently prominent Queen Annika.
Your Majesty, what have I done to offend you?
Was it truly because of her past betrayal of Emperor William?
It's not about offense. It's just that your daughter didn't choose you.
Annika said with a smile, revealing everything.
So, it turns out that John is the most important to your daughter. That makes things easier. After all, John is hopelessly in love with me, and the divorce papers are already written. By now, they should have been delivered. As for John, he should have realized by now the alliance I've formed with the Crown Prince. the crown prince's position will remain unshaken.
Everything fell into place. Princess Victoria suddenly understood. She cared most about her daughter, but her daughter had destroyed their bond and still failed to win John's love. As for John, he couldn't have Annika and had lost his chance at that coveted position.
But it wasn't that simple. Would the crown prince spare a fallen rival?
You are, Nia. Annika placed a hand on her neck and gently pulled, revealing a familiar face beneath the mask.
Yes, my dear mother. I told you long ago, never let me survive. I won't spare anyone who betrays me. You will lose what you desire most with your own hands. How's that for an ending?
Annika, or rather Nia, had lost her former cheerfulness, replaced by a ghostly aura.
In truth, I have been merciful. If John had remained loyal and stayed with Sophia, who helped him during his downfall, he could still retain his power and contend with the crown prince. If Sophia had genuinely respected her mother and not handed her over, even if divorced, she would still be a duchess under her mother's protection.
Perhaps only Princess Victoria had no choice.
I gave you choices, countless times. John sought power, and Sophia ultimately sought power through marriage. It's human nature, understandable.
But I never posed any threat to you. Even if you had sent me away after I helped you build your power, it would have honored our mother-daughter bond. But you didn't. All you wanted was to use me until my death. Unforgivable.
The mysterious and powerful Queen Annika left the Central Plains shortly after a brief stay. She took her birth mother's life, leaving Sophia and John behind. But without protection, the couple soon met tragic ends, either dying on the streets or being hunted by enemies. At least Princess Victoria retained her dignity in death. The freest wind on the prairie desires nothing but justice.